Hello and welcome to Muppetsational, the Muppet Show podcast, hosted by three huge Muppet fans. Join us each week as we dive into an episode of Jim Henson's classic variety show, now finally available on Disney+. This week, it's Season 1, Episode 23, starring the smiley Kaye Ballard. It's time to get things started on the chronological, explorational, conversational Muppetsational! Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Muppetsational. I'm Lewis Chandler.
I'm Jade Turner.
And I'm Emma Chandler.
And we are here this week, as we are every week, to discuss another episode of The Muppet Show. How are we all doing, everyone?
Yeah, I'm good. You all right?
Yeah, all right.
With your snazzy new glasses?
Yes, I have. My body is decaying. I took a ill-thought-out trip to that beach that makes you old. And it only aged my eyes. So I am now joining my other two bespectacled co-hosts. We're going to have to change the cartoon on the front of our podcast.
We have to get in touch with Charlotte and get her to add some little glasses to our figures.
Teeny tiny glasses.
Teeny tiny.
Yeah, I've gone for a kind of background extra in Mad Men. It's what I'm kind of going for with these.
It's working.
Thank you, yes. Anyway, Jade, why don't you kick us off with a little production information?
I will. So this episode was originally broadcast on the 23rd of January 1977. The production code lists it as the 23rd episode made, and therefore Disney Plus have included it as episode 23. And it was written, as many of the episodes have been, by Jack Burns, Mark London, Jim Henson and Jerry Jewell, and directed by Peter Harris. And Emma, what gems have you discovered about our guest this week, Kaye Ballard?
Yes, well, Kaye Ballard, I mean, I didn't really recognise her name. I don't know if you guys did at all.
Not a clue.
So I had to do a bit of a Google.
Sorry, Kaye Ballard.
Yeah, sorry, Kaye Ballard. So she's an actress, comedian and singer. She was on Broadway, on a lot of American TV shows, most notably on the NBC sitcom called The Mothers-in-Law.
Never heard of it.
And she was on sort of The Love Boat, The Doris Day Show.
The Love Boat?
The Love Boat. Toot toot. Yeah, so she's
That's
kind
a
of
train,
just one of those.
Yeah, but that was absolutely a train and not a...
Oh, yeah.
I think you mean...
Oh, that was good, Lewis.
I am trained.
That was very good. So yeah, Kaye was kind of a staple of those shows at that era, and she was in a lot. But also what was quite interesting was she was in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella in 1957, and she played one of the stepsisters, which was the one that had Julie Andrews in it when she played Cinderella.
I was just about to say.
And they said at the time that reached a peak audience of 107 million people.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was the most viewed television thing for decades. It was insane.
That's so many people.
That is absolutely insane when you think about it.
Yeah.
117 million people.
Oh,
I feel like now I may just be pulling this entirely out of my whatever, but maybe because now I have glasses, people will trust my random facts more. But I think somebody said that was over half the population of America at the time.
Yeah, it would have been. It absolutely would have been.
But that's crazy. When you think about anything now where you said half of the UK watched this last night.
Yeah.
Like even the football doesn't even get to 20 million. Do you know what I mean?
I think I don't want to talk about football, but I think the final did, and Rich and I were talking about it, and we were saying like nothing that's not some sort of sporting event would get there now, because obviously people's tastes are so divergent. No one, as you said, not even half the country would agree on this is something I have to watch. basically. Yeah.
I mean, even Peter didn't. I was watching it for some unknown reason, just because I like to. Well, because everybody on Twitter had just shut the hell up. So I was like, oh, well, I might as well watch it to then know the small amount of discourse that is happening.
Yeah. Although I feel like I might have slightly mispronounced it because it is 107 million, not 117.
That's still a lot of people.
Yeah, that's only 10 million less. I mean,
yeah, but still, it's pretty impressive.
It's incredibly impressive. Did anybody else think that Kaye Ballard, she reminded me of Caroline Quentin?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
But less annoying.
I looked her up too, Emma, because I didn't really know a lot about her, and she actually recorded the first version of "Fly Me to the Moon,"
Oh.
which
Wait, what?
yeah, I know, crazy.
What?
And when she recorded it, it was still called "In Other Words," and then they changed it later. And the other thing I found out about her, which made me like her slightly more than I did before that point,
Before you watched the episode,
was that she played Lucy in a radio recording of Peanuts. Like, they did Peanuts music and songs and did little skits, and she played Lucy, and I thought that was pretty cool.
That's right. Which one's Lucy again?
The little black hair, blue dress.
The one that holds the football.
Yes, takes the football away. Yeah.
That's fun. As in, like was it the musical, like, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown?
No. It wasn't that. I think it was like maybe one of the first things that they did. It sounded like they just recorded some songs and then sort of brought to life some of the cartoon strips. Yeah.
That's quite cool.
Yeah.
Is she still alive?
No, she died. She died in 2019, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame. She seemed fun.
Yeah, she definitely had a very long and illustrious career, which is, very impressive.
It is. Well, I think we should kick off and jump into this episode. So after the title sequence, I mean, a lovely title sequence, although it's going to be very, I was going to say tempestuous throughout the episode.
Yes.
Going to cause a lot of arguments during the episode.
I wish that they'd done something to the start as well as to the end. It would have been quite funny to see like Floyd and Dr. Teeth and people huffing their way through playing the theme music at the start.
That would have been pretty cool, actually. Because actually it's when I sort of realised that this was what the entire runner was going to be about, it was quite cool to see them again playing with those familiar elements again, as they've been doing, it feels like, in the latter half of this season, because they feel like they know the structure now. Now they're kind of mucking about with it a bit.
Yeah, and also I think like the fact that a few times you had people humming it or singing it, it's that sense of like, this is becoming part of pop culture. This is becoming something that's so established that you can just sing the opening bars of it and it's sort of shorthand for here's the Muppet Show. Like that's amazing.
It's like when they start in The Simpsons, they start like having characters hum or whistle the theme tune, and Marge is like, Bart, stop whistling that annoying tune. It's just aware of their own wider cultural significance and relevance, I guess.
Exactly. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Fozzie Bear joke at the start of the episode this week as well. We started talking about a fat pig and Miss Piggy comes on and says, I think you mean flat bear, and gives him a hiya.
Very violent Piggy this week.
Oh, she was on one.
She's on fire.
She all guns blazing. We're really getting pure distilled Piggy, by the end of this season. She's feeling very, very familiar to the pig we know.
I feel like maybe she had a lot of pent-up anger because she hasn't had that much to do recently, so she was just like, I'm going to let it fly.
Yeah, I don't blame her. And after the titles, I did love Kermit's little fall that they just did.
What? I did not
all
understand
over the place.
Yeah.
He's flipping and a flopping.
I didn't get it though, because at no point did we learn that the floor was wet or there was a banana skin down there or anything.
I didn't mind. Just a little bit of business. Just a little bit of whoop. It's like I like to do that sometimes when Peter is like, oh, careful, this is like wet, and I'll just pretend he doesn't enjoy it, but I do, so that's all that matters. One time it'll go wrong and I'll just fall and like crack my head open, and he will just walk away.
As a new glasses wearer, Lewis, you need to be careful. You don't want to be smashing them.
I'm not meant to walk around in these. If anything, they told me not to.
Well, there's a reason for that.
It'd be like me walking on like a helter-skelter or I don't know what they call it. Like that weird funhouse they go into at the end of Grease.
Yes, what is that? Wurlitzer? No, that's not right.
What do they call it? I don't know. You've all seen Grease. That weird thing where they're just like, whoa, and they're singing You're the One That I Want.
I know what you mean.
I don't know. It always looked fun. You wouldn't be able to have that now.
Emma's gone really quiet.
No, I'm still here.
See, it's always listeners at home. I don't know if you quite know. We record this on a Zoom, but Emma's camera, for some inexplicable reason, does not work. So we just talk to this mysterious black cube.
I'm a little orange dot that like makes circly shapes when I'm talking. I'm not actually
it's
a real
like
human.
Something from I was going to say, it's like the twist will be in the last episode of the season. Emma will just slowly infiltrate the podcast and be revealed to be some sort of, Cyberdyne style taking over the podcast sphere. Sorry, I've had half a glass of wine and no dinner. And I'm suddenly like, woo!
So yeah, we go from Kermit slipping around on stage into our first song with the return of the country trio with In the Summertime. How did you guys feel about that?
What a throwback. The last time we saw these guys, was it March?
I think it was. It was quite a long time ago.
February.
I hope it's not February. That is ridiculous.
I think the last time we saw all three of them together was potentially February, because I don't think they were all in the Paul Williams episode.
No, they weren't. The ginger fella wasn't.
No, which I think is meant to be Frank.
Uh-huh. And then obviously Jim is the chap on the banjo, and the other one, is that Richard Hunt?
No, I think it's Jerry Nelson.
Jerry Nelson. It's good that you, again, I'm going to promise, before we start season 2, I will read of Muppets and Men.
Right. We've got that recorded.
Yeah, I was going to say that's now recorded.
It's fine. Well, it's going to be a long summer break. But also, now I've got my glasses, reading won't be such a chore anymore. I'm not sitting there just taking the book further and closer away from me.
Oh, wow.
The bit I'm worried about, though, is now you've got your glasses, when you're reading, I've just put that in air quote marks for everyone at home, you're, no, you'll understand why I put them in quote marks in a second. Mm-hmm. You'll actually just be posing and taking selfies and just being like, oh, look how great I look reading with my new glasses
Just
on.
because I posted one picture before we came online today, Jade, on my Twitter, of my new glasses. It's only one.
You've had them less than 24 hours from what I understand.
People want to know.
Do they?
Do you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to give you a running tally every so often of how many likes it's gotten on Twitter.
Oh, please do.
Oh, I shall.
Please update us.
Currently on 20, and I posted it 30 minutes ago.
Oh, that's pretty good, Lewis. It's pretty good.
Thanks. Haven't even posted it on Instagram yet. Maybe I should do that too.
No, focus on the podcast first, please.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
So anyway, the country trio playing In the Summertime.
I mean, unfortunately, the only notes I have for this is I love a banjo, so...
I found this a strange opening.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I really struggled to get into this episode, and I felt like the opening, for obvious reasons, contributed to that quite a lot. I don't know if it's having those, the fact that the Muppets look like humans, but then it's not humans, it's Muppets, or whether it's just that, I don't know, I don't really know the song. I didn't think they were doing anything massively interesting or funny. You know, the camera work was very static and quite boring. I don't know, I didn't love it.
Yeah, I agree, Jade. It was really dry, and it was just, it was kind of disappointing. And like you said, it was weird to go back to it being like the opening for an episode, because don't get me wrong, we have been on a bit of a roller coaster with openings.
Yes.
But they have actually been getting better. And it was just really odd to see that. I don't know, it was just the whole kind of scat country vibe. It was just, it's not my favourite thing.
Oddly, this did not bother me. And it's an interesting point you make, Jade, about the fact that these puppets are obviously on the way to being kind of human, but they are not quite, for me, at that level where they become uncomfortable or freaky. They are not a Muppet Man. They are not...
Yeah, no.
Sorry, that was my wine. Like the strange, those, the hick Muppet with the really long legs. These I find utterly charming, and I really don't mind. They sort of made me feel like something you would see, and I'm going to be referring to Disneyland a couple of times today, Kel Surprise on this podcast. They feel like something you would see in Frontierland.
Yeah.
At Disneyland Paris. Or something, because they're too hippie-ish to be on Main Street.
Oh, yes.
Those ragamuffins would be quickly taken away from Main Street for loitering. But in Frontierland, I can see them making a nice little fun. I just didn't mind them. I think it's because after having watched a season of this show nearly, I take the entire first number with a complete grain of salt. Yeah. Because we've sometimes had absolute shockers and then wonderful episodes, and then sometimes fabulous openings and then an absolute dirge of the rest of an episode. So I kind of let it do whatever the hell it wants. And I think maybe that means I'm a bit more fair on it, because I'm not there. I'm sort of putting it in its own box compared to the rest of the episode, because I usually try and stay optimistic until we get about halfway through and I go, okay, well, this is what we're dealing with.
I think that's a really, really smart move, especially for this first season. And I really hope that that's not the situation we find ourselves in a couple of episodes' time when we're starting season 2. But I still, and especially with this one, I was willing for this to like lead me into the episode, because I didn't know anything about Kaye Ballard, and
yes,
I was sort of hoping that it was going to set a tone for me that I could get on board with and enjoy and feel my way into it. But I didn't feel like it did that at all. Basically, like you said, it was its own little thing. It had nothing to do with the rest of the episode. And I just want to clarify, I like the puppets. I think the puppets are really lovely. I think there was something about just having them singing a song. Like Emma said, it was quite dry and there was nothing else going on.
But they had the...
So we were just...
I can't quite remember what they did.
It was basically that.
Nondescript scatting.
Nobody likes nondescript scatting.
Bloody hell, Emma, that was... Kudos on getting that out
I'm
in
amazed
one.
I made that.
Yeah, me too.
I thought you were going to fall. That was like watching the Olympics, like when someone's on the bars or something.
Uneven bars.
Yeah.
And Jade and I are just Tom Daly sitting in the crowd knitting, being like, oh, how's this going to go?
Yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't doing it for me. I got slightly more into it when they obviously got a bit more involved with the... I'm going to let Lewis make those noises again if he wants to. But... There we go. See, that's funnier than the song was.
No, you're just easily entertained. Like, it's just me.
You're pulling some pretty funny faces.
Thank you, it's my job.
Yeah, I just wanted a bit more from the opening. It set the tone for a very uneven episode for me. For the last episode of season 1, Lewis, I will take your advice and I will compartmentalize the opening number and not put all of my eggs in that basket.
Although I've seen the name of the title for or whoever and I'm just like, Christ. I'm dreading. I don't know what. Anyway, but we shouldn't jump onto that. But what we should jump onto is the backstage runner for this week, which is Floyd and the band trying to leave because they no longer like the theme to the Muppet Show.
How has it taken them 23 episodes to decide that it's not hit, man? Like, what? Why? How?
To be... A long run of a show, you put up with a lot, okay? It took me a long time to decide that I hated my pullover in the Mousetrap, but then I resented it every time I had to put it on. But I was under a very strict contract, which would not allow me to leave without getting sued. The estate of Agatha Christie would take my kidney.
I didn't mind the runner. I think one of the reasons I quite enjoyed it was also because of the fact that it did bleed out onto some of the onstage business, and also that they were very playful with it, especially, and not to jump to the end, but to talk about the very end, that you had Rolf at the end just playing on his own.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, it was such a nice little touch. It was so lovely. But it was a bit one note. I don't know how you both felt about it. The actual bits that happened backstage were essentially the same kind of conversation every time, other than when they played their little Zappa-esque, what was it? Frog in Fugue, or Fugue.
Oh, the froggy.
Fugue for Frog.
Fugue for Frog.
Fugue for Frog.
Yeah, I just think I agree with you, Jade. I just think that especially some of the runners we've had previously, they've actually been really good, and it's almost kind of met the standard of what has been sort of seen as the different sketches and songs on stage. And it, like you say, I think this one just seemed really like one note. I don't know if it's maybe because they're getting near to the end of the season, they just decided to sort of run with this one because it was quite an easy one to do and they could just kind of use all the Muppets that they already had. But it definitely didn't have the same sort of zing to it as some of the ones that we've been seeing recently.
However, I did really enjoy, even though it was the same conversation a few times, actually having a proper conversation between Muppets
Yes.
rather than just crap puns being thrown at one another or a weird semi-sketch setup. It felt a lot more like what we're probably going to get going into season 2, hopefully with a more exciting actual plot. But just watching Kermit and Floyd chat to one another, it just felt much more... It felt much more modern, to be honest. And that's only because just all that pun-heavy dialogue that they've been doing quite a lot in the runners of the past just feels so of an entirely different era.
Yeah, you're right. It did feel sort of relatively fresh, even though actually it was quite static and there wasn't like much plot development or anything.
I would much rather this, even if it's a bit middling, than bad puns.
Yeah.
Bad puns.
I also think, just from the perspective of this season, there's not really been that much for the Electric Mayhem to do beyond playing their instruments or backing someone up or doing a little UK spot or an opening or something. So it was quite nice to actually see, I mean, I don't necessarily know if I would call it massive character development, but, you know, to just get a little bit of their characters starting to come through.
I mean, we found out Floyd's last name, Floyd Pepper. And he had a fun little walk that we'd never seen before.
What was that walk?
He was ankling out.
Oh.
Come on! As soon as he said ankling out, I was like, oh, that's why he's dragging his ankle.
I see. I
loved it.
I hadn't made that connection.
It's the glasses, Jade. They're
Oh my god.
making it. I can see more everything. Context, subtext,
Metaphors.
metaphors, similes. Oh god.
He had some fun little... I know you said it wasn't particularly zingery, Emma, and I know what you mean. But he did also have some fun dialogue, like when he said that he had a home for life at the home for the chronically groovy and things like that. It was just, I don't know, it just felt very Floyd, didn't it? It's like he feels like a character who's there and set, and he's not going to change a lot, and we've got him. I guess the same as Animal has been from episode 1 as well. They are the Electric Mayhem.
Yeah. So once Floyd and co get persuaded to stay for Kaye's first number, we do go straight into Kaye's first number, called
Oh Babe, What Would You Say?
By whom?
Norman Smith, and apparently Liza Minnelli did a version of it.
Well, what hasn't Liza Minnelli done a version of?
True.
Tune into Sex and the City 2 and you can watch her sing half her way through Single Ladies Put a Ring on It, so...
Yikes.
I tell you what, I actually watched Sex and the City 2 like a couple of nights ago just because it was 10 p.m. Peter was away from the weekend and I was a little bit hungover and just eat a shit ton of pasta. And I was just like, I want to turn my brain off. And I just watched Castaway for the first time earlier and that was nice but very emotional.
Wilson!
It was also... Okay, I'm going off on a tangent. I had never seen it before. Loved it. Thought it was great. Is it strange to find the 4 years later on the island Tom Hanks attractive?
Okay, I am glad that's where that sentence finished, because I was slightly worried you were going to say you found Wilson attractive, which was going to...
That was a ball, Jade, for God's sake!
I don't know, Lewis. It's been a while since I saw it, but...
I'm just... Look, listeners, go have a look. That it's the moment where it cuts to 4 years later, you see the fish swimming, and then a spear, jumps through it and it pans up and he's just standing there super cash on a rock, tanned, buff, just wearing a loincloth and with really long blonde hair. And I was like, okay. If this is what Love Island is, then maybe I should have tuned in.
I don't think that's what Love Island is.
No, it's not.
No, I do not think.
I would love if they just then locked those 12 beautiful idiots onto a real island and just made them survive.
They should give them all Wilsons and just see what happens.
I think the more stupid men would just try to fuck them. Anyway, right, right, sorry, Kaye Ballard's first number.
Wow.
Before we go too far off track again, I just want to drop in that I also saw that Thog had previously also performed this with Julie Andrews, when the Muppets did a special with Julie Andrews. So another link between Kaye Ballard and Julie Andrews there, which is quite interesting. I don't know. One of you talked to me about this because I found this, again, I struggled to get into it. I liked where it went in the end, but I was just confused at the start.
It was really odd. I wrote tap, tool, fog, duet, and then I was like soft shoe, shuffle, pink dress. Where did that come from?
Chance to even ask if I could dance with you. Would you greet me or politely turn away? Okay. Would there suddenly be sunshine on a cold and rainy day? Oh, babe, what would you say? Such a lot to say. Hey.
Yeah, it was really. I thought there were some really cute bits when they were in sync and they were dancing, and like
yes,
when
I like those.
Fog's ears moved, that was super cute. But it was really odd. Like, I don't even know where it came from or what it came from or what Kaye was wearing.
She was wearing Villanelle's dress from Killing Eve.
Yeah, you're right.
That big pink frou-frou number.
Did either of you think it wasn't done up at the back? Because I think those ribbons were meant to be tied across the back of it and were not.
I don't think I really noticed that. I assumed
Even with your new glasses, Lewis?
Well, I was writing notes a lot, so maybe I just missed whenever she turned. But, and I could see my notes. Was it meant to be deliberately an unflattering dress?
I have no idea.
I think
horrendous.
It must have been. No, I like to believe it must have been deliberately unflattering because it was a shocker. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would be hard to make that dress work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing about her outfit was the pink cowboy boots that she was rocking.
Stun.
But they were good. Yeah. But no, the dress was shocking.
Maybe I'm just full of joie de vivre and newfound 2020 vision. But I didn't mind this. I just thought it was very impressive to watch the Thog Muppet dance very well and have control over both their arms and also to still have the eyes going. And I kept wondering, how can they see it? I was trying to work out where the eye hole almost must be in the Thog Muppet.
Lewis, you didn't say the catchphrase.
How did they do that? I don't think we've actually officially...
Well, no, because we haven't had that many opportunities to.
I really laid for it to be a catchphrase, Jade, we do have to actually have an opportunity to can't just foist one on people.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you should say that because I was looking at that as well. And I think under the mouth, the material seemed to me slightly thinner. So I wonder if that's where the person's head is, and then on their shoulders
is another little person.
Possibly is some sort of
okay.
No, a contraption to move the ears.
A
and
contraption
eyes somehow.
A
but
contraption.
I don't know how.
Emma. It's not fucking Wallace and Gromit. Like it's not like you can't just say a fantabulous contraption. It's just making the eyes move.
Like the wrong trousers.
Some sort of contraption. How does that toaster work? It's some kind of contraption. It's not the Victorian period, Emma. You can't just...
It's just mystical magic.
Magic.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some wires that someone's controlling somewhere to move the ears and the eyes and...
Well, quite, yes.
But yeah, I don't know exactly. Also, both of his arms were moving.
Yes, exactly. That's why I was so puzzled. So, to be honest, for me, I was just really impressed that not only were both the arms moving and the eyes, but there was a full dance routine. So I was just kind of quietly charmed by it. No, it wasn't particularly, as stand out as other big numbers we've seen, and it wasn't lavish, and it wasn't, as much as it was... How do they do that? It wasn't like, wow, this is incredible. But I had no qualms with it. I want to touch Thog.
There we go. Hug him. There's the catchphrase.
There we go.
I want to touch it. I want to touch him.
I mean, maybe that was just the point of it then, was to just show off Thog's amazing puppeteering, because it was lovely, and I agree with you, especially when they were in sync. The movement of that puppet was genuinely very lovely. But I just found the staging and the framing and her performance as well. Like, I mean, obviously her sort of tapping was meant to be bad, fine. And the dancing was...
Have you ever tried to tap in cowboy boots?
Not recently. Fun fact, listeners, I once broke my arm tap dancing, so there we go. That's
Is that how you broke your arm?
No, the time that I really broke it was on my bike, but I did...
Okay.
I think I chipped it or something tap dancing.
Did some rival tap really hard into your elbow or something?
No, I was doing... Okay, I can't remember the term, but it's the one... Imagine then my hands and my feet, obviously, where you sort of jump backwards.
Jade, this isn't a visual medium.
This is more for you two than anything.
Okay. The one where you just sort of kick back, but both go up.
But yeah, at the same time, and you sort of do that a couple of times, and I obviously just completely went flying, I guess, on my right leg because I landed on my right arm.
Oh dear.
I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah.
I always wanted to tap.
It is good fun when you manage to stay on your feet and don't break your arm.
And there's the lesson, kids.
Yeah, so anyway, back to Kaye and Thog. I suppose what Emma said at the start of this conversation, I guess I don't really know what it was that they were trying to achieve with this. Do you know?
I mean, what's the Muppet Show ever trying to achieve?
But no, well, to make you laugh, or to make you go, oh, that puppeteering's amazing, or to show off the star. I mean, I didn't think Kaye's singing was particularly great.
No, that was a bit grating.
I thought it was unoffensive. I thought it was fun. I found nothing particularly wrong with it.
I was honestly questioning if she was in tune at points, but
I had that more in her second number.
Yeah.
But not so much in the first one. But it was definitely pre-recorded, because there was a couple of times her lip sync was a little out. But
yeah. No, like I just said, maybe it was that they just wanted to show off Thog, but I was a bit uninspired by it.
Well, fair enough. Just for the listeners at home, we are currently up to 36 likes on the Twitter glasses picture. I feel like, when they're on Children in Need, where they check the totalizer every so often.
It's just like that,
yes,
isn't it?
you're just like the charity Children in Need, Lewis.
But the only child being helped is me.
Just your ego getting a little stroke there.
Still got it.
So we have a little bit of Muppet Newsman and another Muppets Newsflash moment with Kaye playing Gretchen Powers, great name, who is completing the world's longest sentence. Bit of a random premise, but then again, most of the Newsflash segments are a bit random. I didn't think there didn't seem to be much of a gag with this one. It just seemed like Kaye was kind of chatting along. There was no accent showcase this week,
despite the fact that she was in Boston, so it was the perfect opportunity.
Absolutely.
There was no Boston.
I was very confused about that. I was like, she's obviously moved to Boston, fine. But
Now, contrary to the last two sketches where I have been in support of Kaye Ballard and this episode, this was the precise moment where I started to lose faith. This was the precise moment where I started going, oh no, this is not, just, a bit lame.
I liked the premise of her doing the world's longest sentence, but then she was just talking utter nonsense.
Yeah.
And obviously it was never going to work with the newsman, because obviously she was always going to keep talking and he wasn't going to be able to ask her anything and actually have a conversation. So I think there was sort of built-in issues to the premise of...
You're right.
Because there was never going to be any interaction between them. And then, finishing on the pretty misogynistic joke, if I'm perfectly honest, of her husband said it makes as much sense as anything she said. It's like, okay, great.
But he also got his comeuppance because he's now in some sort of institution. So, meh. Well, she's going to get a Guinness World Record. Who wins in the end there?
Not us. Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, certainly on the lower end of newsflash segments that we've had.
Yeah, we didn't even get an accent, for God's sake. I mean, oof,
At the very least, if you're going to set it in Boston.
you've got to back that up.
Go on, Emma, give us a bit of your Boston accent, Emma.
Oh no. Boston.
Okay, all right, not bad.
Pretty good.
Jade?
Oh, wicked smart.
Very good.
And you just want to do your JFK.
I was going to say,
don't you?
go on then.
No, I wasn't going to do JFK this time. I was going to do either Little Edie or, this seems like the best costume for today, you understand. But you can always take off the skirt and wear it as a cape. Mother wanted me to come out in a kimono, so we had quite a fight. A useless skill to have. Why do I need to be able to do Little Edie? Like,
everybody needs to be able to do Little Edie, Lewis. It's fine.
I know. It is, I suppose.
Whack it on the CV.
Yeah.
I think we have exactly 2 ballroom sketches left, and this is one of them,
It's
which
the
means that we only
penultimate
have
one.
one left.
Whoop whoop.
We're getting to the end.
Whoop, whoop.
It was quite nice to see Kermit and Piggy there.
Dancing.
That was quite nice. Saw Pig Latin come in the second we kicked off there. I was like, Pig Latin. It's going to be Pig Latin. Pig Latin. Pig Latin. Pig Latin. Pig Latin. There we are. Very good.
I mean, the jokes were as effectively lame as ever.
Yeah.
And even Shrieky Lady just got a I'm not listening to you this week. Like, oh.
I enjoyed George's weird bobbing
Yeah.
dance, like frantic bobbing to open.
He was going mental.
I don't know, but it made me chuckle. I did laugh.
What made me laugh, honestly, more than any of the actual gags in this, was that when it came on this evening, Rich was in the kitchen, and I heard him in the kitchen start singing along to the ballroom music. And
Aww.
exactly. And that made me laugh.
What was he making for dinner? That'll be more interesting than this.
Oh, we had salmon for dinner.
Ooh!
Very
Get
nice.
you! On croute? No, on a plate.
Can tell you've had a glass of wine, Lewis.
Thank you. You're lucky that we're mid-record, so I can't get another one. This is the first episode I've actually had a glass of wine during an episode
During.
rather than several the night before an episode record. You're just letting everybody see all aspects of the process, you know?
For the listeners at home, Lewis is...
Now shimmying.
Just a little quiet, dignified shimmy. And it's dignified because I'm wearing glasses now. Oh, this shimmying would be far more interesting than what I think might be nearing the bottom of the very barrel of my least favourite UK spots ever.
It's the worst.
Christ.
Oh, God.
Christ. This was crap.
How? Why? Why is the Muppet Show trying to depress us? I don't understand. You know, I don't understand what's it? Life gets tedious, don't it? And can I just say that tedious is spelled Teejus?
Oh, fuck off. Sorry to just like... This annoyed me so... What is Jim Henson's obsession with the Old West and like the Midwest or what? I don't even know, like this Western, just a like what is it? Like, because for every charming banjo that I'm totally happy with, we have these freak hick Muppets who just turn up. And honestly, as that old stupid Muppet was talking, the only thing I could think was, am I about to be told the safety instructions for Big Thunder Mountain? Like, oh, well, you better keep your arms and legs inside the minecart. Like,
I wish it was that exciting. All I could think was whoever decided that this was going in was having a bad week, because this is miserable and horrible and, oh, just awful. And there wasn't even anything exciting to look at. Even when it all collapsed and stuff started going wrong, it was still boring and miserable. The one thing I did notice on the second watch was that there were some weird sound effects which completely didn't go with it. You know, the clock hands went round and then they fell off. There was like a weird boing kind of noise when that happened.
Well, that's when they like, because it would be like a spring inside a clock.
Yeah, but it was far too loud, and also it didn't go with the whole like sense of the poem or whatever. Was that a poem or a song? I'm not even sure.
Neither. It was hell.
Just
who
hell.
knows what that was.
And then when the crashing came down, there was like a really cartoony crashing noise. And again, I just felt like it was so out of place with the sheer misery of what was in front of us. I'm sorry, I really hated this. It was horrible.
I have nothing to add.
The little rat mouse was cute.
The rat mouse was cute. And the dog, I think he was called Rover Joe. He was quite cute. Or Hound Joe or something. But apart from that, no, it was terrible.
Yeah, the mouse was fine. But
I hope we get less Hick Muppets going into season 2.
Me too.
I don't need this.
I hope they find their way back to the farm and leave London. 'Cause...
Anyway, let's move on to slightly more entertaining passages with the chat segment. It's very odd that animals suddenly can't speak.
Yeah, really, really strange. I understood
The necessity.
Yeah, I got why they were doing it. I got that, like, she was translating him, but Animal knows English, so I don't quite get it.
Although continuity-wise it didn't make any sense, I would not want to give up hearing Animal go, deep-seated, and demeaning with his big eyes. That made me cackle and almost justified the entire sketch for me.
I didn't mind this. Of all of the things, especially of everything that had come so far, I felt like I was back watching the Muppet Show, and I liked that it tied in the backstage runner. I liked that, you know, like you were saying earlier, Lewis, like it wasn't just pun-filled, or that it wasn't like that weird kind of thing when Kermit sort of semi-interviews them, but then actually it ends up being something like Ben Vereen hanging from the ceiling or whatever. Like it was all part and parcel of the backstage runner, which was fine. That was okay with me.
But this scene could have also just as easily taken place backstage.
Yeah, in the dressing room or something.
That's what I thought. Like, it didn't actually make any sense for it to be a chat segment.
No, it didn't. I wonder if they decided to make it a chat segment so that they could have the Animal and Kermit fight at the end and use the seating.
Yeah.
You know, the back of the seating, because obviously you wouldn't have that in a dressing room, would you?
The image of Kermit squished into his own little belly with his limbs wrapped round him was hilarious.
It was so funny.
Emma, what did you think of this segment?
Yeah, I think, again, like you were saying, it wasn't a very sort of standout talk spot compared to some of the ones that we've seen, but also equally it was better than, like you said, Ben Vereen and also even Joel Grey, to be honest, because that was pretty dry. It was quite fun to see sort of Animal and Kermit having their little fight, and like you say, seeing squished Kermit at the end was quite funny. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I don't think it particularly gave us anything of Kaye's character, to be honest.
No, not at all.
I don't feel like I learned anything about her, which was a shame, because obviously going into it, I didn't really know who she was at all. And I don't think even with her sort of number with Fogg, we get a sense of who she is. So, you know, it was a shame that was missing. It was okay in terms of talk spots, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was sort of perfectly adequate, but no more, no less. I think they obviously, what they wanted to get to was that fight between Kermit and Animal. Yeah. And therefore, in a way, Kaye was just a bit of a sort of means to an end, I guess, in a sense, rather than it necessarily being her moment to shine. We didn't get any of that from her, did we really? It was really all just about the backstage business and then them having this fight.
The only thing I could notice about shining about her was her incredibly white teeth.
Yeah, her teeth. I wrote that down too.
They were, for 1977, they were...
She'd paid a lot of money for them.
Yeah, they were incredible.
Yeah, that was the first thing I wrote down.
Incredibly white.
The talk spot was Kaye Ballard's teeth. Yeah, they were crazy.
Well done. Good for her.
Good for her.
You know, good for her. That Cinderella money just
Ka-ching!
Or 32. Ding 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 ding. Because there are 32 teeth in a mouth.
We got that,
Fun
Lewis.
fact.
Yep.
Well, some people might not. I only know that because of a terrible Fringe play I saw once.
Wow.
The worst hour of my life. Oh, don't. It was about 3 teenagers who were trying to capture the Tooth Fairy.
What?
The Tooth Fairy had a monologue. It was unreal. I wanted to leave. My friend refused to let us leave because to leave the space that they were in, we would have to walk past them backstage. And I was like, I don't care. They should know that this is bad.
Wow.
Was it worse than the Twiggy episode?
It was on par with the Twiggy episode.
Okay.
And but also in a way worse because obviously when something's so bad on stage, you want to laugh, but you're in a very poorly attended room, just heaving, just like just trying to like disguise whatever you can, or like pinching your legs. Like I think I actually had like bruises on my legs from how I had just been like scrunching into my skin to try and stop myself from being like bah. Anyway, 32 teeth in a mouth. From a sparkling pair of chompers on Kaye Ballard to is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah, good. I suddenly wanted to work. Right. Oh, keep it in. To a shiny pair of scissors in the haircut sketch. There you go. It's all right. Do you like chatting to your hairdressers when you go to the hairdressers? Jade? Emma?
Well, mine's my mum.
Oh,
So it'd
of
be a bit
course.
weird if I didn't talk to her.
Sorry, I prefer not. Sorry, I prefer
Mother,
not to
I
talk.
need to sit here in silence.
Just quietly read a magazine. Just no, thank you.
I think I have occasionally tried to like scroll on my phone and, you know, she just keeps talking, so then I just put that away. Hi, Mum. Love you.
Emma?
Oh, God, I don't know. Sometimes I don't mind, and then sometimes I'm just like, just do the blow dry.
Emma, do you put your big shades on and just sit there like, I'm done?
Like Anna Wintour.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Getting your bob cut in.
Getting my bob cut, yeah.
How about you, Lewis? Do you like chatting?
So I go to a very a quite masculine barber's now, which does a really great haircut, and the guys who work there are great, but it is all a bit like straight male heterosexual. I used to enjoy the chat more when I used to go to Splash Hair in London, which was like 12 quid for a haircut, and it's all just like Portuguese gay boys just like cutting a hair, and they're just like, okay, we'll just go do your hair. And I'm like, okay, yay. Like, that's more fun. Like, you just chat to them. That's nice. And the couple of times where I used to get my hair bleached at Tony and Guy's, again, by exclusively gay men, was always great. But yeah, it's just when men are chatting to you about like football or music, and you're like, so have you listened to Dua Lipa?
No, but they probably like Dua Lipa for other reasons, so you probably could have a decent chat about Dua Lipa.
I know, but I don't want to talk about Dua Lipa's butt to them. I want to talk about I want to talk about future nostalgia and whether they prefer the baby version of Levitating or the Madonna and Missy Elliott version of Levitating. And obviously there's only one answer, particularly given recent events with Da Baby, Da Burnt and Da Broke, Da Fuck Himself. Anyway, no, cause obviously this sketch is so inconsequential, I just thought I might as well ask you guys this
That's
question.
fine. I'm very happy because this was so weird, and also the fact that it was Statler and Waldorf's little inserts in it, and we didn't have Fozzie, but we did have Statler and Waldorf commenting on this.
I didn't mind that though. It was like almost having Statler and Waldorf do Gogglebox.
You're right, it was a bit.
Which is also something that they definitely should do in some kind of sketch if the Muppets ever come over to the UK long term.
They definitely should do Statler. They should do all of the Muppets doing Gogglebox.
Yeah.
In their various little
In the US,
homes.
known as the short-lived show The People's Couch, apparently.
Did it get cancelled?
Don't know why I know that. I think I just don't think it appealed to Americans.
Strange.
But yeah, this was just a bit of a nothing sketch. I mean, fun that we never got to actually see what was underneath all the green fuzz. They just got sneezed away. That was quite cute, but Yeah, nothing to...
It just felt so strange to me that this was in there when it wasn't a UK spot. And I don't know, like maybe we could have got a glimpse of Kaye's personality a bit more in the talk spot if they'd made that 40 seconds longer or something. Because I mean, this was pretty short and sharp and done, wasn't it? So
yeah,
it was odd,
really odd.
And from one odd to the return of all things, vendor face.
Terrifying.
I actually screamed no as it cut to vendor face. I could not believe we were going back to this.
But at least, okay, the one thing I will say is at least it makes sense this time.
Yes.
It's
but
not a
still.
psychiatrist or whatever it was before. Oh, how long did this go on for?
So long.
I felt like I'd been watching it for about half an hour. I was like, how is this still going? Oh.
Yeah, it was quite interminable. And also, why didn't that second Muppet just pay another 5 cents and get their first face back?
I have no idea. They're an idiot.
That's all I could think. I was like, well, just pay another 5 cents.
It was so obvious that was what was coming, and it took so long to get there that, I mean, obviously it was never going to make me laugh as a punchline anyway, but it actually made me... I think I was just getting more and more mad as it kept taking longer and longer to put all of the various different features on that little whatnot. It was just like, just get on with it. This is so tedious and it's not fun and it's not... You're not giving us anything. Oh, I really... And again, that could have been another sketch with Kaye, or it could have been Fozzie doing some stand-up, or... I don't know, Rolf. Rolf wasn't really in this episode.
Gonzo getting to do something.
Yeah, god damn it. Gonzo wasn't even in this episode, was he?
Just the opening.
No.
Just the opening titles at the very beginning. Yeah.
So many other Muppets other than Vendor Face.
Inexplicable to me to bring this back.
I think I did read that basically they wanted to use it multiple times because it costs so much to make.
I mean, I get, yeah, because obviously I assume this vendor face must have been the first sketch they wrote for it, and then just... But, throwing good money after bad is what that is.
Yes. Totally.
Emma, any thoughts on vendor face?
Yeah, no, just kind of what I was saying before. Terrifying and unnecessary. And I don't know, like the second one, when it was just like, when the arms came out and it was putting all the like scary features onto that lady, and it was just horrible. It was like some weird dystopian future or something.
It's very unsettling.
There were also wigs involved, which I assume
yes,
didn't
I'm
enjoy.
traumatized by the wigs.
Emma's unfounded fear of wigs. I think it's just Emma doesn't like to be warm or scratchy. I think it's actually
pretty much
nothing to do with wigs. It's just
fair enough.
See, Emma would never go to that beach that makes you old because Emma doesn't like sand.
That's why I look so young.
Emma would be at the hotel spa that keeps you the same. Old.
Okay.
Anyways.
I think that's enough about Vendor Face, to be honest with you.
Ever, hopefully. I hope they don't turn up again next week.
We get a final little backstage bit where they play Fugue for Frog, which is obviously a disaster, and Kermit tells them so. But then, bizarrely, for Kaye's final number, they're all back behind her again, as if nothing's happened. The runner doesn't get resolved in any way at all. It's very strange.
And I also missed the one line, I think, conclusion that came in the goodbyes, because I was writing a note. I think they did address it somehow, or some...
In the goodbyes, they came on and said that they wanted to get Kaye to sign a petition. Basically to remove the theme song.
Oh, well, that doesn't make any damn sense.
No, there was no... Not that there was a massive story here anyway, because there obviously wasn't a huge story, but there was no sense of resolution at all, and they were still pitching for the theme to get changed, which was why what that did make sense with was why Rolf was playing the theme song by himself.
Yes,
at the end,
which was great.
But it didn't make sense that they were back behind Kaye for One Note Samba.
I couldn't tell you, Jade.
Neither.
But also, I didn't think that the the version that they came up with, the froggy dirge, was actually that bad. It sounded no drastically different to me to any late night talk shows.
Oh, I think
introduction music, apart from slightly off key.
It was clashy, wasn't it?
Well, a bit, but not drastically so. You could tie it, I mean, for a first go. Didn't mind it that much.
Floyd's meant to be a genius, Lewis. I mean, you should be coming up with better than that.
Straight men just overselling their abilities once again. Right, ladies? Don't go for second best, baby. Put your love to the test. God, Madonna would be terrible on The Muppet Show. She'd be so bad. I love her so much, but she would be the worst fit ever. Sorry, just thinking about that for a second.
I think anything where she has to not take herself seriously would be...
Yeah, after like 1997,
somewhat.
it all becomes a bit difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of somebody not taking themselves particularly seriously, Kaye in this second and final number called ?
One Note Samba.
Oh, okay, cool.
This is just a little samba built upon a single note. Other notes are bound to follow, but the root is still that note. Now the new one is the consequence, as the one we've just been through, as I'm bound to be the unavoidable consequence of you.
There's so many people who can talk and just do nothing, or nearly nothing. You have used up all the scale, when at the end you come to nothing, or nearly nothing.
So I come back to my first note, as I must come back to you. I will pour into that one note all the love I feel for you. Anyone who wants the whole show, re mi fa sol la ti do, she will find herself with no show. Better play the note you know.
She was playing all of these instruments herself, right? I'm fairly certain she was, because it looked like the movement seemed pretty on track with what was happening.
I think for some of them, maybe, but I don't think for all of them. Because I think there was some where what she was doing didn't match up with what was happening.
Really? Because I actually thought she was doing every single one of these.
Maybe she was. Emma, what did you think?
I did think a couple of them that she did, and then some of them it didn't. It kind of... Was it Phyllis Diller who did the similar sort of thing with the it had that vibe to it, but I think much better. Oh yeah, I was going to say Kaye definitely sold it a lot more than Phyllis did. And also I did think it was quite funny that we saw Miss Piggy come in and start trying to compete with her with the instruments, and sort of that when she came with the triangle and the cowbell was really funny.
Piggy gamely hitting that cowbell to try and was like me going to an audition where they say we want actor musicians. Is it like me? They're like, I can keep time and play a cowbell. Just cast me. Because it was her level of concentration, looking at the cowbell and knocking it into. It just really made me laugh.
She was brilliant with all of them. She was really... talking about someone taking it seriously, Piggy was taking it deadly seriously. She wanted her moment in the spotlight and she wanted to play those instruments, and only the tuba could shut her up in the end. There was no other option. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was lovely. I think Kaye sold it a lot better than Phyllis Diller did with her last number, but also I think it just shows you what having the right Muppet in the sketch or song can do, and having Piggy there was just perfect. It just played into her still developing character, but we already know she wants the limelight. We hadn't really seen Piggy that much in the episode at all. She'd only had the one line with Fozzie at the start and then the Pig Latin joke, and that was it. But it didn't matter. We know she's there, and she came on and she did it, and it was just so much fun. It was such a high note to finish the episode on, and it really did make me disappointed that actually a lot of the rest of the episode was sort of middling or poor in comparison, because to me this is... Okay, maybe it's not like absolutely one of my favourite numbers from the entire series, but I did really, really genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. I liked it. It was super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I thought in comparison to what we'd just seen with Venderface and the monster getting a haircut, it picked up the episode, definitely, because I think if we'd been on the same tone as those last two sketches, it would have been a pretty poor ending. So yeah, I thought she really gave it her all, and it was just nice to see her interaction with Piggy, and it definitely lightened the episode, and it was just nice that it was just something a bit light and a bit fun, which kind of contrasted the terrifying vendor face.
It also just felt very thought through as well, like from the set and the framing and the progression of instruments that they both had, and you know, the way that they were interacting with each other and sort of having this little tussle. It just worked. And I feel like, I suppose something I've just been I've said it in so many words, but a lot of this episode just didn't work for me for one reason or another, but this did.
I thought the goodbyes were very cute.
The goodbyes were nice. You had that little bit with Floyd with the petition, and then you had her saying that Miss Piggy was hoggy, and
nice.
Obviously it's a pig reference, so we know who's going to turn up and karate chop someone.
Yep. It was, and they just continued to fight. It was great. Yeah.
It was good. And we've spoken about it a lot, but it was so cute. Rolf playing the theme song on his own. It was so adorable.
Rolf saves the day.
It was very, very cute. I really appreciated that touch, actually.
Him and Nigel.
Yes, Nigel.
Nigel.
God love Nigel.
Perfect name for a conductor. Conductor. Thank you.
Oh. Also love that Rolf is
Nigel.
Presumably neither in any musicians union or feels like he's part of the band. He's just Rolf. Does his thing.
Well, maybe all the other musicians are actually humans, and Rolf is actually just a dog.
This is true.
He may be exempt. He may not be under union rules. Think about how many animals died up until even the 90s in movies. All those poor chimps.
What about Animal though? What's
Unlisted.
Animal?
No union would take him. I'm surprised anybody would insure him, to be honest.
They probably don't.
It's all very off books.
I love it.
I'm going to be very interested to see how each of us are going to rate this episode. But before we get there, it's time for us to decide upon our most valued Muppet performer, otherwise known as our MVMP. Emma, who was your most valued Muppet performer this week?
My most valued Muppet performer this week is Rolf, because he saved the show. What?
Oh, we should have known from you.
Do we need to? I feel like we could just leave it there with Emma, no?
I think we can.
Emma likes Rolf. Great. Profound
Emma
work,
loves Rolf.
Emma. Provocative podcasting, Emma. Just bold, interesting choices. Jade.
Well, I struggled because I didn't really think that there was a particularly standout Muppet this week.
It's going to be Rolf, Jade.
It's not. I feel like I've gone with someone who I'm going to be saying a lot next season, but I've gone with Piggy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've basically just talked about it, but she saved the ballroom with the pig Latin. Actually, we didn't talk about it. What I actually felt like she saved the ballroom with was when she was cackling with laughter at her own joke and jumping around and launching herself backwards and forwards. That was hilarious. That genuinely made me laugh. Must be the first time I've laughed at the ballroom in a while.
I can't relate to that. Can't relate to laughing at my own jokes.
Me either.
Lol.
And then, One Note Samba was absolutely the highlight of the episode for me, and that was their interplay, but Piggy in particular was great in that. Yeah. So, I've got to give it to the pig this week.
Give it to the pig.
Give it to the pig. Lewis, who's your MVMP?
Purely for the fact that it made me laugh the most this episode, I have to give it to Animal. Purely for saying deep-seated and demeaning. There's nothing funnier than when Animal just gets his eyes really wide and just repeats something back. I'm a simple man of simple pleasures, and it really tickled me.
It was really good, to be fair. Again, especially because he'd been talking utter nonsense, and then he suddenly came out with demeaning.
Yeah. Imagine if I had just said vendor face right now.
Imagine.
Can you imagine a world? No, that's a fucking contraption, Emma. Vendor face. That's a contraption.
That's a scary contraption.
Scary contraption.
Other than the fact that in reality, all Render faces is someone behind that thing with their arms through it and a drawer at the front that person's rummaging through.
That's why it's so terrifying.
I wasn't assuming
Jade.
it was an actual machine, Jade. I had managed to.
But I'm just laughing at the fact that, you know, in reality, what it actually is.
It's just somebody rummaging through a drawer with their face pressed up against a background of a wall. Yeah. Art. All right, let's get on to our rankings for this week. Jade, what are you going to give this episode out of 10 this week?
You're making me go first.
I am.
Okay. Oh, well, at least I can get my thing in then. So I'm going to give this episode 5 out of 10 homes for the chronically groovy. Because there was plenty in this episode I did not particularly like. We've just spoken about it for an hour. There were moments that I did really enjoy, like One Note Samba. I did enjoy the talk spot. I thought the runner was perfectly fine. And yeah, I just think it was very middling. I think they found a bit of a groove with the show, but it also still feels very kind of season 1 to me, in that they're relying on these little skits and sketches that have no real bearing on everything else. And there's also just a bit of a lack of finesse to some of it as well. I guess I was just sort of not disappointed in Kaye, but I just sort of thought we'd see a bit more of her, or a bit more personality, or a bit more just of that sense of who the guest is this week. And I don't really feel like we got that at all, other than in the One Note Samba song with Piggy. So yeah, straight down the middle for me this week. 5 out of 10 homes for the chronically groovy. Emma, what are you going to rate the episode?
Well, I'm probably going to do the same as you, Jade. So I ranked this episode 5 out of 10 pink cowboy boots. The same sort of reasons as you, Jade. It was quite a middling episode, I thought. There were some good bits. Frog and Kaye's number, One Note Samba. The talk spot wasn't bad. But then the UK spot, vendor face, a monster gets a haircut, they weren't great. And I think it was just a shame, because especially as we're coming to the end of the season, and like you said, we've seen real growth in some of the episodes, and then this one, it felt like it had a bit of a step back. And also, just like you said, in terms of getting to know Kaye, I came out of the episode and I thought, I haven't learned anything about her. I don't really know, you know what I mean? I didn't get any sort of vibe from her, which I think was a shame. So yeah, so I think for this one, I'm going to give it 5 out of 10 pink cowboy boots. How about you, Lou?
It's 5s across the board. It is 5 Floyd Pepper ankle drags out of 10. I think the problem we have with this episode is, one, not really feeling like we get a good idea of the star's persona. And secondly, that although a lot of what is in this episode is perfectly serviceable and fairly entertaining to a point, there is no one moment in this that feels innovative or anarchic or has that little something extra that makes the Muppet Show stand out, or has that thing that, when it's really firing all cylinders, makes the Muppet Show sing. This was just a perfectly serviceable variety show of 25 minutes. And that's not what the Muppet Show is. The Muppet Show is so much more interesting and special than that. And it usually gives us a unique insight into the guest, because we see them in scenarios that we may never usually see them in. And we didn't get that. We just had... This could have been anything. And it just... That's why it's going to leave very little impression. I'd already forgotten what Kaye Ballard's name was during this episode. So I think that says it all, really. So by no means the worst, but far lower than the greatness we have seen, even in this first slightly rocky season of The Muppet Show. Godspeed, whatever the hell they're going to give us next week.
And I think the other problem with this for me is that when it was bad, it was really bad, like the UK spot.
That was
too.
horrendous.
You know, it was mainly middling, And like you said, it didn't ever reach the highs, but when it reached the lows, it really reached the lows.
You're right.
So
It did.
yeah.
Well, hopefully, Jade, with a little bit of Muppet philosophy, you can drag us out of this middling to low state and into a more positive, aspirational, glasses-wearing mindset. Current tally, 40 likes on Twitter.
Adam Lewis.
I might send to you a final tally for this post because I think you're editing this one, and I'm going to drop it in here. Hello, it's Lewis from the future. Final tally for my picture of my glasses on Twitter. 81 likes and 155 likes on Instagram. Take that, Jade. Haha. Yay me! Or, God, you really should have made a point out of that because that's really lame now. Carry on.
I'll crack up if it's like 42.
I know, it's going to be so shit now. But I might just drop in how many likes it gets on Instagram as well, just to try and save face. But then, Jade, you'll just cut it out. So 42 likes on Twitter, and for...
You will never know.
I'll post it when I tweet about it. I've got access to the Muppetsational Twitter feed.
So, for the Muppet philosophy this week, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to read part of a speech about Jim that was delivered at his memorial service in London. So not the big one in New York, but a second one that was held in London.
Jesus, did they not cover everything already?
Apparently not.
So this one didn't have any songs in it then?
It does say a similar memorial service, so I'm not sure, Emma.
I didn't realise they were taking the memorial on the road.
There's a tour bus.
Emma, that's not a tour bus, that's a hearse.
Our deep respects to the Henson family.
I would like to reiterate again that we all love Jim Henson and his family. We are just making a joke about an incredibly long funeral. Which is hilarious.
So this is taken from Jim Henson, the biography by Brian J. Jones. And this quote is from one of the Fraggle Rock writers, Jocelyn Stevenson. And she said, "When Jim left the planet so suddenly, all of us who loved him, worked with him, were inspired by him, gathered in New York City. We were like dandelion seeds, clinging to the stem and to each other. And on May 16th, the day Jim died, the wind began to blow. There's no stem anymore. We're all floating on the breeze. And it's scary and exhilarating, and there's nothing we can do about it. But gradually, we'll all drift to the ground and plant ourselves. And no matter what we grow into, it'll be influenced by Jim. We're Jim's seeds. And it's not only those of us who knew him. Everyone who was touched by his work is a Jim seed."
Aww.
Aww.
That's very nice.
It's really lovely, isn't it?
Sad, but it's very nice. Ultimately uplifting. Which is what we hope that the experience of listening to Muppetsational is. No, just uplifting, not sad.
They might be sad after they hear the Twitter finale of how many likes your picture gets.
Scraping the barrel for content. Just it. Thank you so much for listening to Muppetsational. If you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate and review, as it really helps spread the word about the podcast. You can follow us on social media. We are at Muppetsational on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok and Facebook. You can contact us at hiho@muppetspodcast.com. Have we ever checked that email address?
Yes, I get the emails.
Oh, good. Okay, I just wondered if anybody... We're lucky to have you. And you can find out more about us and the podcast, or probably Jade, because she'd be the only one to actually reply or respond, at muppetspodcast.com. Oh dear. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. I have been a newly bespectacled Lewis Chandler.
I've been Jade Turner. Bye.
And I've been Emma Chandler.
We shall see you next week on the final episode of the first season of The Muppet Show.
Woo woo.
Woo-hoo. And see you next week on Muppetsational. Bye.
Bye.
Because we'll probably do another one after that. We haven't just talked about it yet, but we probably will, And then we'll have a break because we need it. Okay, bye.
Our theme music is Peppy Pepe by Kevin MacLeod, and our artwork is designed by Charlotte Rudge, who you can follow at Charlie_R_Rudge on Instagram.